This is a quick little video I wanted to upload addressing a little bit of a fuck up that I made in one of my more recent videos, and I thought I would address that here. So for those of you who saw the most recent episode of Bad Death Battle Ideas, I left a little note talking about how I was unable to watch some of these new episodes of Death Battle Cast because Death Battle has been locking certain content behind the members only thing, which is effectively just a paywall of some sorts. And I had requested if anybody was willing to be a mole for me to figure out what goes on in these podcasts. Well, somebody pointed out to me that the episodes that I was referring to was something known as Champion Casts and Ballot Banter. And apparently these are connected to the Death Battle Kickstarter page. And from the information that these individuals gave to me, which I want to shout out and say I do very much appreciate this information as it is very helpful and did clear up some confusion that I had. So apparently Death Battle Cast is still free to watch without any kind of membership. However, this is not true of Champion Cast. Well, apparently on the Death Battle Kickstart page, they had this little thing. It was some kind of reward where if you pay a certain amount of money, you can not only suggest a versus matchup, and it will become a part of Death Battle Cast. If you gave enough money, then it would become a guaranteed death battle or something like that. So Champion Cast is actually separate from Death Battle Cast. Now, at first, I was slightly confused by this and was wondering if they had just changed the name. Well, apparently Champion Cast is mostly meant to be for Death Battle members and a certain subset of people that donated to the Death Battle Kickstart page back when they did that. So when I was looking through the Death Battle YouTube channel and I saw that pretty much every episode of Champion Cast was as a members only, I had interpreted it as one of the things that they made a members only thing was the Death Battle Cast. Well, it turns out I was incorrect about that. So that's my bad. And I'm doing this because I didn't want anything to feel misrepresented. Even if this does seem like a small little mistake, at the end of the day, it was a mistake nonetheless, and I do not want to give out any kind of incorrect information, no matter how small that it is. While I am still a little bit curious about these Champion Cast episodes, and my offer still applies for anybody who would like to give me any kind of insight as to what goes on into these Champion Cast episodes. From what I can gather, it's basically just an extension of the rewards that they had available on the Death Battle Kickstart page. Now, you could argue, well, didn't you pay close enough attention on the Death Battle Kickstart page? Well, yes and no. I did read up on it back when it was a thing, but due to things that were going on in my life, I never got to make the video that I wanted to make about the Death Battle Kickstart page, and some of the information had kind of been forgotten by that point. While I'm not going to say it's an excuse for anything, it is a potential explanation for why I was somewhat misinformed on that little reward, which is a tad bit embarrassing on my part. And again, I just want to be transparent, and I don't want people thinking that I'm giving out bad or false information to make Death Battle look bad. Far from it. While I do think it's a little bit silly to lock certain content like a podcast behind a paywall, I do understand why Death Battle does this. They need to keep getting as much funding as possible so they can keep Death Battle going. Even I've considered crowdfunding and things like Patreon to eventually get Blood Royale off the ground. So I understand, and I don't want people thinking that I'm trying to say that Death Battle are bad guys for wanting to make money. I just think that they could sometimes make a little bit better choices of what they choose to lock behind a paywall and what they don't. But before I ramble any further, I will leave it at that. I made a little bit of a fuck up, my bad, and for those in the comment section that gave me this information, I very much appreciate it. And I'll see you guys around for the next video.